the purpose was, I'm going to start. I think India really needs to dramatically increase solar rooftop penetration because it makes significant economic sense. But the problem is, I think perhaps most installations that have been done till date, they are not performing very well, and they probably do not deliver the intended economic return or intended value proposition to the customers. So overall, I see that when we look at the systems installed and we collect the data, it appears that many situations where the energy production is less than half of what was initially shown as the possibility. We started as a solar rooftop company nearly about 22 years back, although our history is prior to that. But in solar and solar rooftops, we started doing this in United States about 22 years back. And we never had an issue of performance so much in any other country. But I think India is unique. It is a very dusty environment, and also everybody cuts corner because as customers, many of you that are in the call, you want the lowest price. You will not budge. You're very happy if you get the lowest price in any deal. But what you don't realize is when you squeeze the suppliers so much, you get what you pay for, and you will pay a price. So, I want to share some thoughts on how you should go about evaluating and selecting a solar system that can deliver the economic value, and it can be a smart investment as you perhaps intended it to be. Otherwise, just don't do it. It's waste of your time, waste of your money, and you're not going to get any benefit, and you will lose your money if you don't do a good system with a good integrator or a good company. You will just pay a price for it. All right. I'm not saying we're the only one, but the whole idea is there are a few things that you have to watch out for. A little bit about SunEdison's history. Our roots are from 1959, when we were the company that manufactured and commercialized silicon wafers for the first time in the world. So we understand silicon. We have worked in silicon for more than 6 decades. And for those of you that may not know, solar photovoltaic cells, which are the blue color or black color panels that you see, they are simply made out of solar cells, which are basically silicon with a very, very simple electrical device, which is a diode. All right. So as a result, silicon becomes very important for the solar industry, and that's the starting material for solar. We've done many pioneering projects in India. I'll switch to India, which is probably more relevant for you. We've been present in India since 2009 December, or approximately 2010, when the National Solar Energy Policy was formed for the first time. So we've been installing systems and have been a pioneer in India in many ways. We built the first utility scale power plant in Gujarat. We built the Narmada Canal solar project for Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Modi. This was his passion, and we simply executed on that passion. We have done microgrids powering up villages for the first time. We've done the first airport in the world. Kuala Lumpur Airport was completely solarized by us, and subsequently other airports have been. We also built India's first rooftop power purchase agreement for Standard Chartered Bank in 2012. So we've had a long history of being a pioneer in pushing the limits and ensuring we deliver good quality. And we hope to continue to do that with all of your support. And I'll move on. I think our history is probably less relevant for you. You know, the map that you see is basically our footprint in India. We're present in more locations, but these are the locations we call as our cluster locations, where we have offices, engineers, financing support, operations and maintenance, warehouses, spare parts. So we can support you wherever you are in India from these main locations. This will more than double next year and will reach to 100 by end of next year. But at the moment, we do installations pan-India, and we have done more than 30,000 distributed solar installations in India. It's not easy to go build a small solar system in Nagaland or Tripura or Himachal Pradesh. It's much easier, of course, in the urban areas. But the point we're trying to make is our goal is to be available and present to customers all over India and install small solar systems, maintain and support them for 25, 30, 35, 40 years, because that's what it's going to take. If you buy a solar system and install it, it's not like it's going to magically work 5 years from now. You will need constant attention. Things do fail. You need a service provider that's committed to being with you for the next few decades. If you want to achieve the energy production that you assumed you will generate, or the supplier promises to you that this is how much it will generate, you have to really do a lot of work and ensure that you have someone that can support you for 25, 30 years. And that's what we intend to do. Look, we have done work with commercial customers in a pioneering way throughout India, and many brands have trusted us with their solar requirements. We continue to do that. And I hope that all of you that are present, you will give us an opportunity to serve you well as well. What is important is, honestly, we've been doing this for 22 years. Our systems will work. They'll work for decades. We study the systems that are older, 35, 40 years, to ensure that these systems, after they are installed, while they're installed, obviously, we have a 40-point checklist to ensure that a good quality system is properly installed for you. And we continue to provide O&M support throughout India to ensure that these systems will last and they'll deliver for you. Look, I'm not saying that those companies that don't have the history will not do a good job. I'm sure they will. I'm sure if the intentions are right, anybody can do this. What we're doing is honestly not rocket science. Any company, any solar EPC company, if they have the intention to deliver good quality and support you, they can do the same. But it does take a lot of effort. It does take a large organization. So we have nearly 500 employees spread out throughout India, supporting small distributed solar installation in the country. As far as I know, no other Indian company present in India has such a large commitment to installing a 50 kilowatt, 100 kilowatt, 20 kilowatt, 200 kilowatt system. Not to this extent. This is what we do. This is the only thing we do. Our goal in life is to deliver distributed small solar systems and be available to our customers for decades, because the system has to last for more than 25 years. Of course, the technology can be different ones. I mean, you might use with battery or without battery. We think that battery costs have come down significantly, and you should only be installing lithium iron phosphate. I don't think it makes sense to combine solar with lead acid and deal with the problems that you will face in just a couple of years. Lithium iron phosphate batteries have a much longer life. You may have to pay more, but you will have something that will function when you need it. There is attractive financing available when you buy a solar system. We'll talk about it, but we are working with banks that are willing to give extremely lucrative financing, which will make the burden, honestly, there will be no burden. If you're spending X amount of, let's say you're spending 5,000 rupees on electricity per month, you can install a solar, finance it such that you may not 100% displace your electricity that you buy from the distribution utility or the company, the grid company or the electricity board, but we can reduce it significantly. And even after paying for the solar system and the EMI, you can spend less than your 5,000 rupees. So the whole point is your cash outflow can be made within your electricity bill currently. So you don't have to worry based on additional cash burden on your business. So look, I think different people look at what is the return on investment. If I invest 10 lakh rupees, what is my payback? Or what is the return on investment? So what you'll notice is, given where you are today, and the solar prices have stabilized. 2 years back, I wouldn't have said the same thing because the prices were still falling. But now the solar prices have somewhat stabilized. So you don't have to wait for them to go down further. They've been stable to slightly increasing in the last 1 or 2 years. So it's a good time to invest and take a look at it. It's our belief that if you're a commercial customer, you will 100% be able to save money and get a good return on investment if you were to make the choice to install solar with a good company. Doesn't have to be us. There are several other well-intentioned solar service providers, but honestly, that list is, I would say, handful, less than a few. I think personally, the most important criteria that you have to look at is this company going to support you for the next 25, 30 years? Have they made a commitment to being present with operations and maintenance, or are they using an easy way out where they completely subcontract everything, and then someday if it doesn't make business sense, they will just shift gear and not support you? I think the one issue I see, a lot of Indians are driven by brand. There seems to be a craze for brand. Look, we are also a 65-year-old company, but brand doesn't mean anything if that brand is not doing the underlying work. Most brands today in India subcontract everything. They subcontract the module manufacturing, which is one of the most critical steps, to somebody else who may not be a very good quality provider, but they put their stamp on the module. And you as customers might feel comfortable that this is a module from a good brand. Doesn't mean anything. So I'll talk more about it and give you some examples just to caution you. So listen, I think you can buy electricity from a solar provider. But what you have to remember is, if somebody is selling you electricity, they are making a very good return. Most likely they are making 15 to 20% return. So you don't get all the savings. This is not a very big investment. And if you were to take the lucrative financing we talked about, it's much, much simpler for you in your books to own your asset, and you will be able to reap better financial return. Again, provided, of course, you have someone that's going to support the installation and operations and maintenance of the system to ensure that it delivers the assumed power, assumed energy generation for the next 25, 30 years. We've done all kinds of return calculations. These numbers can vary depending on what assumptions you make. But let's say you spend 8 or 9 rupees per unit of electricity today, and the electricity prices in the country is increasing 3-4% year on year. In that situation, if you spend 1 lakh today in a 25-year period, you will save about 9 lakhs. Again, I will say that don't go by these exact numbers. My marketing team may have made it a little better to make it look better for you, but it will be in that ballpark. All right? So think about it. If you invest 1 lakh today, you will generate about 8-9 lakh rupees in the next 25 years. But not today. It is over the next 25 years, which means it is important to work with someone that's going to support your solar system for the next 25, 30 years. So again, look, I don't have anything against you working with a small solar service provider that might be in your zip code, in your PIN code. They may only have 5 people. They may be buying good branded modules, good branded inverters, but that is just the beginning. First of all, as I told you already, brand doesn't mean anything at all. You can buy crappy modules with a good brand because a good brand outsourced it to somebody that doesn't pay any attention to quality, and that's the cheapest module they get. And they get the cheapest module because the customer is willing to squeeze and pay the lowest possible price. So this is a vicious circle. If you buy poor quality modules that are being constructed with poor quality materials and poor quality processes, you can be assured of one thing: you will not realize this economic benefit. So don't do solar if you're not willing to understand and invest in proper quality. It's your waste of time. You will install something, use up your terrace space, and the systems will not generate, and you will not get the necessary support. And you can't get warranties because when you go for warranty, the supplier will simply say that you did something wrong. You may have thrown a stone, a coconut may have fallen on your panel, and those are not the things that they cover you for. So, this is just the economic return. For those of you that are profitable businesses, you can save because of accelerated depreciation as well. So, we're happy to explain to you if that's of interest to you. But if you own the asset and you take a loan, you will still get accelerated depreciation, which means your returns can be very high. We have looked at customer returns which are upwards of 40-50%, even though we say you should be able to easily get a return of 20%. But in reality, you can get 30, 40, 50% return, again, depending on your situation, your electricity price, and the system quality that you're installing. We have partnerships with State Bank of India, with EFL in Pune, SIDBI. All of these partnerships can support our customers throughout India. Of course, we have to take you through a loan approval process. But what I see here is exceptionally lucrative financing. For a 10-year tenor, 5 to 10 years, at 8 to 9% interest, this will make significant economic return. So I would strongly urge you to use the loans, use the accelerated depreciation if you have a profitable business, and you will see that the returns can be significant. Just a bit of a tutorial for you. On-grid system is when you already are connected to the grid, we can connect our solar system to the grid as well. So that on a Sunday, for example, your building may be shut down on a Sunday. So what do you do with the solar generation on a Sunday? You can feed it back into the grid. In India, most jurisdictions allow you net metering. Actually, by law, everybody should. but some discoms haven't accepted the reality yet, and they keep pushing back and playing games. But everybody will fall in line. The Honorable Minister for New and Renewable Energy, Shri R.K. Singh ji, fully supports this, and his team, led by Jeevan Jetani sir, they all are working tirelessly to make this available to all of you pan-India. Off-grid system is when you're not connected to the grid, then you are connected with a battery plus solar, and you can completely run 24/7 without getting any grid connection. Let's say you have a farmhouse, or let's say you've set up a new factory and you don't have your electricity connection yet, but you need to run your machinery. This can all be done off grid. Or you may have a guest house somewhere that does not have power. So various situations, or you might be in a situation where the power situation is not very good and there is a lot of power cuts, blackouts. Then you can do a hybrid system with batteries. Batteries have become very, very reliable, and it will be quite meaningful to use lithium iron phosphate batteries. You have to look at the economics, but our belief is today it is cheaper to use lithium iron phosphate batteries along with solar if you're using a diesel generator. There is no excuse for you to be burning diesel in a diesel generator to generate power, not only harming the environment. I'm not even talking about climate change and carbon footprint and carbon dioxide, which harms the whole planet. But a diesel generator harms your local environment. You are inhaling carcinogenic and unhealthy fumes, which will affect the life of your workers and your employees and your family. So do not burn diesel anymore. Solar and battery can deliver economically a better alternative, which is cleaner. So, this is just some example of what happens when you have a solar system. Let's say the one that generates 4,650 in a sunny month, could be the month of August or something, or September. And then a month where there is a lot of rains, you don't generate as much, maybe 6-7 days gets washed off because of rain. So in a sunny month, you may be generating 4,650 units. And in a rainy month, you may be generating 4,300 units, right? So this is just the economics to show in such a situation how in some months you may generate surplus, but some months you may generate deficit. But because of the net metering law in the country, when you generate a surplus, you can feed that electricity back into the grid. You will get credit for it. Obviously, different states have different rules around how much credit you get. But we can look at that economics for your zip code or your state and come back to you. But in all cases, we believe there is a good economic return to be had. These are just examples of installations we have done in Delhi, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, and the IRR calculation and payback calculations are written in this for this particular customers. You can see that the payback has been typically 3 years. All right. And the IRR, for some of you that are more financially oriented, is upwards of 40%. So think of it. Think of this as an investment you are making, a deposit that you're putting in a bank, which will generate 30, 40, 50% return. But again, all of this is possible only if the solar system is generating the power which you assumed it will, or the provider told you it will, which is not trivial, not at all. And we'll talk a little bit more about it. Again, some examples in Pondicherry, Tamil Nadu. You can see again that the payback periods were 3 years, and the IRR, which is the internal rate of return, is upwards of 50%, 40%. So it's a phenomenally lucrative investment if you do it right. You don't have to wait in the future. As soon as this meeting gets over, you should call whoever you trust to do these systems and ensure that you can start enjoying your benefits. Again, look, I'm not saying that you should only buy from SunEdison. I'm sure there are several capable companies, but from what we know, we don't know of anyone else that has invested in 400 people just doing this pan India and is ready to support you for the next 25, 30 years directly, right? We're not dependent on subcontractors everywhere to do the work and to support our customers. We will do it ourselves. I'll show you more what that means. What we also notice is, to cut corners, a lot of installations are done quite poorly, and you should be aware of that. I'll just show you some pictures. Shadow analysis is very important. Sometimes our customers ask us, why are you offering only 35 kilowatts while your competitor is giving 50 kilowatts? We want to give you 35 kilowatts, which will generate the stated power. We don't want to maximize our revenue and completely cover your entire rooftop with panels. Uska kuch matlab nahi hota hai. It doesn't make any sense. For example, in this particular picture, you will notice that there may be a overhead water tank. That water tank may be casting a shadow. It does not make sense to put up solar panels where there is shadow. It will kill the power production of the entire system. Because many times these systems, for those of you that are electrical engineers, are connected in series. And even if one panel has a shade from a tree, it will kill the production of the entire series. So don't do that. You have to do shadow analysis and avoid parts of your terrace where shadow will fall, and in some cases from permanent structures like this. So I don't know how many installers do this and tell you. Most of the times the installers are trying to maximize their profit. So they have to install as much as possible. That is not a good measure. Please don't install as much as possible. You have to install as much as it will be effective, as much as is optimal, not maximum. This is again a simple thing we run into all the time. We lose business because a competitor would have offered a larger system than us. There is no reason to just go for the maximum system, because your energy production, your economic return will be less. I'll give you another example. People don't design good structures. They come and do spot welding at the site. First of all, you should not be allowing someone like this to do an installation standing on a parapet wall. Just imagine what will happen if this person falls and dies in your premises. Is this a headache you want to have? No. But many people do that. So, we use safety harnesses and we use safety gear when our installation crews go and install, because we want to be careful. We don't want to have a person dying in your roof. And it can very easily happen. These things happen and people are not paying attention. But anyway, technically, when you do such spot welding, you might damage the module. The weld itself may not be strong. It may not be designed for the wind load, and it may break off during a cyclone. You don't want that. You've paid for a system that should last for 30, 40 years, as long as the building will last. So don't allow for your service provider to do shoddy work like this. Do not. I'll give you an example. People don't pay attention to their modules. They'll store stuff on top of the modules. People will walk on their modules. People will carry the module and hit it on the walls. All of this will break, will create, these are what are called micrographs. This is another problem. When you buy, you may be thinking you're buying a extremely well-branded #1 company in India branded module, or a Japanese module, because Japanese consumer electronics giant has a very good brand. No, but these people, I'm not going to give you specific names because I don't want to get into legal trouble, but these two specific names that I told you, they manufacture module from one of the poorest quality factories in India. And there they use cells, what you see in a square shape is a cell. The cell can have a crack, what is called a micro crack. And a micro crack will not be visible to your eyes. You have to use electroluminescence microscopy to find out. And we have mobile, we carry in the field mobile EL testers to check for these things. But many people don't. And when you check these micro cracks, because of the thermal cycling, because the daytime is hot, nighttime is cooler, so the modules see a certain amount of temperature thermal cycling. And during the thermal cycling, these cracks will grow. And the module may become useless after 2 years. But when you go to the service provider, he will say or she will say that, no, this is not their problem. Some stone must have fallen. You may have damaged the module. The module company will say, no, the installer did it. Your local installer, he is the one that damaged the module. The module is perfectly fine. But the problem starts in the factory. So how do you check all of this? It's very, very difficult. It's very difficult because under the garb of brand, you might just get garbage. And you will not know. So the only way is, unless the company tells you how are they controlling the quality of module, and you take interest and you believe in them, this is not going to happen. So, I just want to make sure that you open your eyes. On one hand, there is huge financial upside. Look, I don't know of any investments in India that can generate a 40-50% return. I don't know. As a business, all of you should be doing it. You should contribute to preventing and reducing climate change. By switching to this, you are ensuring that our planet Earth can be safe. Our children and grandchildren will have a planet to enjoy. You can do your part. But at the same time, none of this will happen if you don't install a good quality system. And these are real pictures that we're showing you here. So operations and maintenance becomes extremely important. We have a methodology. Every system, whether it is a 3 kilowatt system or a 100 kilowatt system, gets monitored. We monitor it live, round the clock. Obviously, round the clock as in only during hours when there is sunlight and solar production. Doesn't make sense to monitor it during the nighttime. So we look at the power production, and we constantly are seeing, is the system producing what it is supposed to? We have dashboards like this sitting in our central control room where we monitor these assets for you. And we have this electronics. Every system of ours goes with this monitoring system installation, and we monitor it to ensure that the system is producing. We look at, for example, there may be this sawtooth graph in the middle where the power production dropped. It might just be a cloud cover that is passing. But if it's not a cloud and it does, sometimes the solar production reduces significantly when there is dust on top of your panels, because dust prevents enough energy generation. So we can pick it up remotely, and we will tell you, or we will send someone to clean the panels to ensure that they start producing properly again. So we have many automated alerts that we get from every system, right? Based on the inverter, what has happened, in which system, what issue is there, even without you telling us. See, our view is this should be a hassle-free investment for you. But it is not going to be hassle-free for us. We have to round the clock monitor it, ensure that we can stay on top of it, ensure that we can clean the panels when it is time to clean the panels. We can go figure out what has gone wrong with a particular inverter that we may be using. We have to figure out if there is a hot spot in the panel. We have to figure out if a panel has to be removed and replaced. You shouldn't have to bother. All of this is automated, and you don't have to worry about it. We will analyze your power production, and we will fix the problems without you even knowing. Obviously, if it requires a visit to the property. We'll have to take your permission and come and fix the issues. But this is what we do. So let me stop here and I'll answer questions. But the biggest thing I will say is select a service provider that monitors and ensures that good quality material is being delivered at your site. Specifically modules. All right. They keep track of what kind of cells are being used, what processes are being done. You can ask them, do you outsource it? What process do you have to ensure that the module quality is good? Ask them to give you a document on module quality, right? Look through that. So module quality and rest of the material quality is important. And then construction has to be done properly. There has to be a proper estimation of capacity and design. There's no point in simply maximizing and ensuring that your entire roof is covered. And the problem is, if you cover your entire roof and a human being cannot go and clean the panels, you will not get good O&M either. You have to allow for someone to safely go and clean the panels. And we find some installations are so high that a human being cannot go and clean it at all. It'll never get clean. And after 6 months, the power production will die because there'll be so much dust. Maybe you will see the power production only during the next rainy season, when the rain itself washes off the dust. So there are simple practical issues that you have to pay attention to. And ideally, you should not be paying attention to. If you get a good quality service provider, they will do all of this so that you can enjoy 25, 30, 40-year economic return, which is unparalleled. So don't waste time. Do your installations today and go work with what I think is maybe a handful of companies, 2 or 3 companies in India that are as committed as we are in doing a good quality job. All right, let's, we're present everywhere. I think these are just some pictures of installations we have done.